Coming up, we're going to discuss the original Mary Poppins movie.
And you know what word perfectly describes this movie?
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Way to steal my thunder. Hey everyone, welcome back to Eye to Eye Disney Through Our Eyes. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Jessica.
And today we're going to be reviewing the original Mary Poppins back from 1964. It is its 54th anniversary. Now, typically we like to do things on like the fifth 5-year anniversaries of things. 5 and 10s, all those kind of anniversaries. But since this year, Mary Poppins Returns is coming out at Christmas time, we thought of no better way to celebrate and get ready for it than to review the original Mary Poppins film, which honestly, we both sat down and watched together through the whole thing for the first time earlier this year.
Yes.
So it's kind of nice watching it again, you know.
I love this movie. And after watching it the first time, I realized as a child, I never made it to the end of the movie. I always stopped like halfway through and never made it to the point where, oh my gosh, I forgot his name. Bert. Where Bert's on the roof with his friends singing that Step in Time song. I realized I'd never seen that before until the first time we watched it this year.
That's like the main thing I remember from Mary Poppins as a child.
Isn't it
the
wonderful?
Step in Time thing.
So now, seeing it a second time, I love that scene, and it's perfect that we watched it twice this year.
So we've got some pretty good perspectives on it, but we want to remind you guys that for some reason, if you have not seen this movie at all, I don't know what you're doing with your life if you haven't seen it. Do not watch past this point. There are spoilers galore here.
To be fair, though, is it really going to spoil anything if we spoil Mary Poppins?
I mean,
it's not like a Marvel movie where huge plot points
some people may have been waiting their entire lives to see this and just never had the opportunity to, and then are finally like, I get to see it, and then they watch our video.
If that's you, please let us know, because I want to know who you are.
Well, Jessica is judging you very hard today.
No, not judging, because Lord knows I have not seen a million movies that I should have. But why would you be watching the Mary Poppins review if you haven't seen the movie?
You know, maybe they just like seeing us.
Just saying. So, tell me, what was your favorite thing in the whole movie? If you could pick one thing.
You know, that's really hard because I found myself this time liking different things. I liked the funny little just like nonchalant jokes that Mr. Banks has. A lot of, it's not jokes that he's saying, but he's saying something just matter of fact that's really funny about the situation he is. I liked the humor in this one. It like hit me a lot better this time around. So I think that's my favorite part of this movie, is just the dry, sometimes just matter of fact humor in this.
That's fair, because I really appreciated Mrs. Banks this time. So she has always annoyed me in this movie. Like, who doesn't?
Her voice is not that.
Her voice, her singing voice. She doesn't take care of her own children. She never sees them during the day. And I'm not judging people that have nannies, because that's kind of awesome. But if you never see your child at all during the day, and you're going out to do these like feminist movement things, you know, I'm judging you a little that you're not spending time with your children. But
yeah, that's great if you want to do that with your own time, but you need to make sure you spend time with your children as well.
Make sure you hang out with your offspring. You know, you did bring them into the world. But she was so weird. And just every time like Mr. Banks was being kind of a butthead, she'd be like, oh, George, you're so sensible. Like when he didn't kill himself, when they had convinced themselves because he stayed out all night.
Back up a second. There was never a point in here where he was trying to kill himself.
No, but listen, but I'm trying to explain.
You need to explain that.
I'm trying to explain. So there's a point where George loses his job, and the nannies and the housemaids and whatever they are, and Mrs. Banks convinced themselves that he had jumped in the river and drowned himself because he couldn't manage everything. And so George shows up and she hugs him and she's like, oh, George, you're so sensible for not jumping in the river. Like, congratulations for not killing yourself.
So a little bit of background on the movie if you haven't seen it or you just forgotten about it. This is a film that Walt Disney made based on the book series by P.L. Travers. Mm-hmm. And this is covering the main character of Mary Poppins, who's a nanny type figure who comes in and helps families that have kind of lost their way in terms of caring for each other, spending time together, and brings them back to the point of, you know, what's important in life, and that's being together and the love for each other. And that's what she does for the Banks families here with Michael and Jane, Mr. and Mrs. Banks, which I'm trying to remember, what was Mr. Banks' first name? George Banks and Winifred? I think it was Winifred Banks as well. So I feel like it's something besides Winifred.
No, it's not. It's Winifred.
It's a really weird name. Anyway, so they do end up happily.
Does it remind you of Winnie the Pooh?
They do what?
Does it remind you of Winnie the Pooh?
I guess maybe that's why I'm just throwing off.
Winifred.
Anyway, so they do end up happily ever after at the very end of this, being a
But there were
good
some
family.
rough times. Like, George Banks is hateful. Like, he is the meanest person in the world. Like, he sees his children for, a minute a day, and he's like, off to the nursery.
Well, that's what he's like.
Goodbye.
Comes in. The song is like 6 o'clock is, I walk in the door,
Yes.
6:01.
Dun, 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 dun.
6:01, I have my pipe in my hand. 6:02, I'm sitting in my chair. 6:03, I pat the kids on the head. 6:04, they send them off
to bed.
Send them. Are you starting to start singing
Dun,
throughout
dun,
this?
dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun. Is the life
Hey, quit while
I
you're.
lead.
Quit while you're.
Nobody ever
ahead.
said I was good at singing.
No, but I
have the
thoroughly
words.
entertained that you attempted to do that in this video here.
Yes.
So speaking of music, what's your favorite song from this one?
Okay, so that's hard because...
You want me to give you a list of some of the ones?
No, I got this.
Okay.
So obviously, Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious is amazing.
See, I think that's overplayed.
I know. That's what I was getting to. If you quit interrupting. Then I really like the Steppin' song because I like seeing their feet and everything.
Yeah.
But then I like that George Banks song because it's really
the Life
the
I Lead.
tune. Yes. But I think my favorite song is honestly the song that Jane and Michael come up with to get their nanny. And they're at the end, they're like, Jane and Michael Banks. And they like do this weird like head thing and blink. But then you got me stuck on that bird song, the Toppins a Few or something, Feed the Birds, and I cannot get that song stuck out of my head. It is just trapped in there like a mouse in a mousetrap.
So Feed the Birds is a very common tune.
Sing it
no,
to us.
I'm not going to sing. No, I'm not going to embarrass myself.
Toppins a few.
It's a very common theme you'll hear throughout the movie. This not just the words, but the music behind it. I'm just ignoring her at this point.
Right.
But you'll hear it at Disney parks a lot, but in a more happier kind of upbeat tone with it. But it's a very catchy and very memorable tone from this.
But it's very morbid. It's just like really... He sounds like a dirge. It's just...
But I love
it's
it.
really sad. But yeah, it just gets stuck in your head. And you see this old lady feeding the birds. And obviously, I'm guessing she's homeless. But does she die?
I don't know. I don't know her life.
I don't understand
know
what
her story.
she... I couldn't figure out what part she plays in the movie. Because really, she had nothing to do with anything. Except that Michael wanted to go feed the birds. And that's what made the bank crash.
But that's just it's a device to move the story forward is all it is. She's not really a major plot point in the movie
But I
other
just
than
need to know if
just,
she died or not.
I mean, you could go,
And if she was homeless, why was she feeding all her money
how
to
about
birds?
this? You go tell who's writing Mary Poppins Returns that we need those answers in that movie, and you're going to be very upset if we don't get them.
Well, I think that's probably
Maybe she's going to be in Mary Poppins Returns. We don't know.
Maybe.
Mhm.
So, do you like Julie Andrews'
Can I-
singing voice?
I do.
I'm sorry.
You didn't let me give me my favorite music in
Whoa.
this.
Well, my question involved your question.
Let's Go Fly a Kite is my favorite one.
Oh, gosh.
I love
sing
that
it,
one at
sing
the
it.
end of it. Huh?
Sing it.
I'm not going to sing in this video. You're not going to get me to sing.
Let's go fly a kite.
It's just fun. It's
I
happy
hate
at the
this
cheering.
song so much. It's really annoying. It sounds like Barney.
Anyway, it's a very cheery, happy movie. It's another tune that you hear throughout Disney parks. I think that's why I love it. If I hear it playing in the background music, that's kind of gets in my soul, and I really like it. So let's
like
go.
a part
fly-
of you.
It's like a part of
Ugh.
you. So and
Okay.
the fact that the whole family sings it together, I think it's a really good way to catch.
I
it.
do. Now, I appreciate that when
Yeah.
they're like holding hands, and here's this dysfunctional family that honestly, they could have all been on 4 different planets and it would have been acceptable. And then at the end, they're grouped back together by this stupid kite and this song.
So what's your question you had for me on?
Do you like Julie Andrews' singing voice?
I really do. I think she is a really great actress, but
Mhm.
I also think she's a great singer as well. And I think for the character of Mary Poppins, her voice, I can't think of anybody else that would fit it. And I know that's
Yeah.
it's easy to say that now, 50 years later, because she's become so synonymous for it.
Right.
It's going to be interesting to see how Emily Blunt,
I
Fits
can't picture
that.
her singing. Does Emily Blunt sing very well?
I don't know. I really don't know.
I can't judge because y'all have heard me. I do not sing
I know,
well.
we've been trying to get you to stop.
This is not my talent, but I just have never heard Emily Blunt sing. So,
I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see.
well, now that I know you like Julie Andrews' singing voice, maybe you'll watch Sound of Music with me.
Oh, don't get your hopes up. So Mary Poppins is a very long movie.
Yeah,
Like,
shockingly long.
Really long.
For being a kid's movie, it's almost 2.5 hours.
So does it keep your attention the whole time, though?
No. There's
Nothing
a point.
keeps your attention the whole time. You go to sleep.
Fair.
You didn't go to sleep during this movie.
I actually didn't. Can you believe it?
Actually, I think you did
No, I
one
didn't.
time.
I did not.
We had to break it up in chunks, though, for you to watch.
Just into 2 chunks.
Just two.
Yes. Honestly, the scene where they're like in Bert's painting.
Yeah.
that gets a smidge long
It's
for
very
me.
long.
The penguin dance was a little long. They could have cut that down to about 2 minutes rather than 10.
Right.
And then the scene at Uncle Albert's house. I thought, honestly, that could have been left out, but I know that Albert is like a big Disney person, whatever his name is, Ed somebody. Like he ended up being the Mad Hatter and
Yeah, the voice of the Mad Hatter, yeah.
Yeah, so I know that he's a big Disney guru person, so it's probably nice to have him in the movie, but I felt that was unnecessary to the plot as well.
I think this could have been fixed. Maybe not with the Uncle Albert scene, but with the section there for the painting. If they had just done the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious scene,
yeah,
that was it. If they had left out the it's a jolly holiday with Mary, that part, like I know like that was Dick Van Dyke and Julie Andrews' like big scene together, you know, I get that, and that's probably part of the reason they were on the film, so they could have something like that together, but at the same time I think it could have been left out of the film.
Yeah, there were
shortened it up just a little bit.
Well, and like I appreciated that, you know, Winifred was all into votes for women and she was really invested in that, but there were a couple scenes that they could have left out where it just honed in on that she was, you know, women's rights and votes for women. I felt like we got the point, and that wasn't the purpose of the movie.
But it was making fun of the overliness of that sometimes.
Yes, it was. And so it almost, I don't know, it just seemed a little extra.
It's the point that it was trying to make is that whether it's her and her women's right thing, George Banks and his work, these parents have focused on the wrong things for too long and not paid attention to what's most important in life, which is the message of the movie.
Right. And it was a great message.
It was a great message for this movie. And
darn cute kids.
Man,
that little Michael, he was adorable. I know he's like
it's like I
way
swear
older than me now,
it's like you and your brother together. Like when I see the two, Jane and Michael together, I can just see that being Jessica and Ryan.
I don't know that we were that sweet. Like they were just sweet kids.
They weren't so sweet. They're a little devious too, you know. They run off every nanny there is.
Did they run them off, or did George Banks run them off? Because honestly,
that is a question.
I'm just saying, I wouldn't work for George Banks. He was hateful.
It's not that he was hateful.
He was hateful.
He had misplaced priorities.
Doesn't matter. Hateful is hateful.
It's just like if you've seen the movie Saving Mr. Banks. I know you haven't.
How many times are you going to bring this
She
up?
didn't come to save the children. She came to save George Banks. So just because he seems hateful in the beginning doesn't mean he's not worth saving.
So after watching this movie, are you now going to read the books?
Some point. You know how long it takes me to read books. But yes, I'd be willing to go do the source material.
I'm proud of you. You've read a book this year.
You don't have to tell people that I've only read one book.
I didn't say only one. You said only one.
Whoops. There it is. I'm going to try to do better. Okay. All right. Let's come up with a rating system for Mary Poppins. What is it?
Well, actually, two things. It could either be the umbrella. Okay, spoonful of sugar. How many spoonfuls? How
many spoonfuls would you rate Mary Poppins on a scale of 1 to 5? Yeah.
4.
I give it a 4 as well. It's very catchy. It's very entertaining. There's enough humor in it to keep your attention. The songs will make you hum them. I think that is what makes the length of this not be such a detriment, is because there's enough
broken up by the songs
in. Yeah. And it's cool that it's one of the first films to incorporate animation and live action together.
That is cool.
And then you can't discount the greatness of Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke together. So
I love them.
It's worthy of being a Disney classic and worthy of our admiration of it. And I'm so excited now to see Mary Poppins Returns.
Yes. And I'm so glad that they're doing Returns and not remaking the original.
Because
I don't think they could come close to the original.
No, I think that's a very good point there, that they actually are just going to keep the story going and see where it leads from there.
Yeah.
Just like with Winnie the Pooh.
Oh gosh, here we go.
All right, we want to know from you in the comment section what you think about the movie Mary Poppins. What do you like? What don't you like? And what would you rate it on a spoonful scale of 1 to 5? How many spoonfuls of sugar would you give it? Let us know in the comment section below. What else should they do? If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. And you can check us out on Facebook and Twitter, where we do lots of fun polls and games and stuff. Just spoonfuls. Fun stuff. Just spoonfuls of stuff. There you go. That's all we have here in this video, but until we assemble again, may the force be with you. And we'll see you real soon. Bye. You're not going to break out in the song during this, are you? No, my voice stinks too bad. Tell you what stinks is your breath. You gonna look over here and not over there? I'm just making sure they're not buying that house. Yes. Did we give a rating system for old movies? What are you doing? Are you trying to fight me? Because you have Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.